What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Anything Box. And once again, shout out to Herman for sharing this and some other things with me. We're continuing through their 1990 album, Peace. I've only listened to a few tunes so far, and it's worthy of note that the way these tracks were sent to me, I'm not going through it in the actual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chronological order of the album. I've been sort of jumping around on the record, so that's just the product of the way the tracks were organized when they were sent to me. Nevertheless, we are going to hear another tune from Peace. And it's interesting, I don't know the degree to which I mentioned this on the previous reactions, but it's a 1990 album, so technically it's from the 90s. But, you know, we humans retrospectively, we tend to put decades, whether we're talking cultural trends or musical styles, in discrete, closed-off boxes. But of course, something in 1990 is probably going to sound more like 89 or 88 or even 87 than it does 99 or 98. So to me, the album so far has had a very 80s synth-pop feel to it. I still think I Felt the Pain is probably my favorite. I listened to that just before I came back to do this reaction, just to get back into the mode of the record. So, in any case, the tune we're going to listen to now is Jubilation. It's a term that references a degree of excitement and happiness, and indeed celebratory happiness. Obviously, there are events like a Jubilee, which is an expression of jubilation. So, yeah, I would expect, on the surface of it, it to be a celebratory and happy tune, but of course titles like that can be sometimes misleading, or there's more than meets the eye to the title, such that there's an irony or there's a more complicated reality despite the simplicity of the word in the title. So I'll see what I can catch on a first listen. This is Anything Box. The track is Jubilation, and it's from their 1990 album Peace. Funky moves on the dance floor right here. That's so bass.
Moving on was hard to do, to leave the things that I once knew. Childhood is the one thing that won't come back to me. How can I sit idly by, watching all these hours denied? My name is all I have for an offering. And oh, when you feel stranded, don't take for granted this thing called life. And oh, when you feel stranded, don't take for granted this thing called life.
The second side of that reminds me of some Depeche Mode from the 80s.
Built up walls that
Now, sonically, it felt as Jubilation based as I expected. Lyrically, it felt more complicated, and the chorus, the idea of when you feel stranded, don't take for granted this thing called life, that sounds more dire. It sounds like when you've hit your low point, don't think of throwing it all away. Don't think of just packing it in and giving up. Appreciate how important and how singular life is, and therefore perhaps you can find the inspiration or the wherewithal or the persistence that you'll need to keep going and to keep living. So it feels like maybe it's a song or a set of words said to somebody who's at a low point. So sonically it sounds very dancey and groovy, and especially in the chorus it's very uplifting, but perhaps it's articulated that way because it's a message of hope and encouragement to someone who's not in that kind of place. So again, it feels like maybe there's a bit more complication than the straightaway title would lead you to believe. But again, I love the lead singer's voice when he gets a bit of scratch. He didn't do it as much here as in I Felt the Pain, because that one there's those long extensions about like why when he hits that word and he really leans into the scratch. It's very notable. Here I only heard it at a couple points and for a briefer amount of time, but I really like when he puts that emotional, what's the right word? Because it's a scratchy delivery, but it's like he's digging into some angst or some anger or some rawness. That's, I guess, what I'm looking for, a raw type of feeling to it. So it really carries that sentiment when he delivers the lines that way. So yeah, a cool vocal performance again, even if not quite as impactful as on I Felt the Pain. And yeah, I like the way toward the end we get the layered vocals and that one, maybe a different singer, maybe just the same singer, but hitting a higher register where there's a really high articulation of the same line that is being sung by the like normal part of the chorus. So I do like the polyphony toward the end of the track vocally. And yeah, the synth bass, great, classic 80s sounding, although again, maybe later 80s sounding. And as I mentioned during the track, that almost like water drop industrial ladder bar of the larger like cycling measure. I really enjoy that, and it reminded me a bit of like mid-80s Depeche Mode, so that's always a good thing. And yeah, just again, a classic 80s sound, and maybe that it is 1990. It's a sort of culmination of a lot of what was happening in the synth-pop world throughout the second half of the 80s. So yeah, very much enjoying this. Happy to get back to it. Shout out to Herman once again. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.